Time for the Burning River Sportscast. The playoffs are all but over and the stage is set. Chiefs, Eagles, 2 teams go in, 1 team comes out. Who you got? Of course, we'll have to wait 1 more week to see it all unfold as players ramp up for the Pro Bowl games. And meanwhile, in the snow-covered suburb of Berea, the Browns Brain Trust is eyeing significant off-season moves. Who's staying, who's coming, and who's going? Plus, we say goodbye to an old friend. And we break it all down for you next on the Burning River Sportscast. I took a dump before the show. I'd take that.
Yeah, we took a big shit on Cincinnati this week in our social medias, and people were not happy about it.
More on that later. F them all.
You want to see their package? Shirley from Laverne and Shirley died today.
Oh no, That's just another in a long line of celebrities that have died this year.
Name another.
Tic-tac-toe. Very punny.
Yeah, but there's a lot of cholesterol, though.
Well, hopefully something funny happens. Someone's dong falls out. I don't know. Something good. And then we will...
John Goodman is the greatest American actor of all time. Fight me.
Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast presented by Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder, seated as always right beside the former Mayville Chili Cook-Off champion and future astronaut, Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Ronnie, can you remind our friends where they can find the best podcast in the galaxy?
They can find our podcast wherever they get their podcasts. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more.
So many more.
Yo, did you see the Maryland girl that found a megalodon tooth? How do you? I can't say megalodon.
Megalodon.
Megalodon tooth. Did you see it?
I'm vaguely familiar. Do you have the story?
Yeah. So, 9-year-old Molly Sampson was out with her family in Chesapeake Bay on Christmas morning, and she went out to the beach and she said, "I'm gonna find a megalodon tooth."
As most kids would.
Yeah, absolutely. Less than 30 minutes later, she did just that. This girl wants to be a paleontologist when she grows up. She actually knows a decent amount about megalodons.
Who doesn't?
I mean, right. So as soon as she saw this thing, she started screaming. She's like, "It's a megalodon tooth! It's a megalodon tooth!" And her family was like, "All right, well, maybe we should get this checked out." She actually is a pretty smart kid. So they took it to a museum. Where they did confirm that it was a megalodon tooth. It was one of the largest to ever be found in that area, and they also say it came from the upper left jaw of a megalodon, which was likely 45 to 50 feet long and lived roughly 15 million years ago. And now young fossil hunters are emailing this girl, hailing her as a hero. So it's pretty cool. But the story came out just this week, even though it happened on Christmas, because they confirmed that it was a megalodon tooth.
Talk about speaking it into existence.
Right. Less than 30 minutes later.
I'm going to find a megalodon tooth.
Yeah. I got 2 things to say about this story, though. One, megalodons were just 45 to 50 feet long.
They were quite big.
Like, can you imagine a great white shark, but that big? Like, they're already big enough.
Really, really big. In fact, the word megalodon literally means giant tooth or big tooth.
Well, they had big ones.
They had big teeth.
Yeah. So, in second, here's my question to you.
Uh-oh.
It's actually a 2-parter here.
Excellent.
Part 1, answer this one first. Do you think a megalodon could still be out there?
Just given that we haven't explored the deepest depths of the ocean, like, are you just the probability of there still one existing?
Like Megalodon the movie, do you think that might be legit?
I mean,
you go down through the fog and there's just a megalodon there. Don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's spoiler alert.
I would say this is that I don't think there's a megalodon left because they've, by all counts, went extinct like 30 million years ago. So it's a long time to kind of not have a sighting of a megalodon. But that being said, we have not ventured into some of the deepest, darkest, cavernous places inside of the ocean. We've joked before about, it's said that we know more about space than we do about the ocean. Like, that's kind of a scary thought, given that we live here. But so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that there are legitimate monsters down there. I just don't know that there are megalodons.
All right, so that was part one. So no megalodons. That's your feelings on that. Here's part two. The ocean is big, and we don't know a lot about it, as you just said. What kind of fucking scary things do you think are out there, man?
Oh my God. So this is the scariest things.
Holy shit. Like, talk about something I'm afraid of. The ocean is what I'm afraid of. I've told people multiple times I'd rather go to space than go to the ocean.
That's why you're going to be a future astronaut.
Yeah. Like, I would, which is weird because I kind of want to go on a cruise, but I think you stay close enough to land.
Cruises kind of get out there, man. You look around and there's no land for a while.
Yeah, I know, but still, like, we could still possibly be saved. I don't know. Like, I'm probably not taking the Titanic because it sank, first of all, but like, I'm not going across the ocean because you get out there way in the middle and you won't be saved.
I was just looking at the Titanic thing the other day because, like, they were so close to making it. Like, I tracked their
like 87% of the way.
I tracked their voyage. They were so close, but beside the point, there are undoubtedly absolute monsters down there. Things that are probably scarier than Megalodon. So how's that?
Yeah. Have you ever seen like the videos of like an octopus just like squeezing into random things and like choking stuff out?
Oh yeah.
Like imagine that, but like fucking huge.
Really, really
like
big.
The biggest fucking squid you ever saw. Like, I'm terrified of the ocean.
It's yeah.
And you can never see what's around you.
I mean, amazing creatures, right? To just the thought, like you said, the sheer size of these things. And it's funny because really the way we gauge size of ancient creatures like that is through fossil records. But fish don't really have like bones like a Tyrannosaurus Rex did. So really everything that we've kind of judged the size of the megalodon off of is just
I like that you said megalodon.
Megalodon is the size of its like teeth because they were like 8 inches long.
Yeah.
And they're like, you would have to have a really, really big mouth to have a
yeah, I mean, they've never really, to my knowledge, I guess we'll have to check that found like a megalodon skeleton.
No.
So
and so it's just, an impressive creature. I mean, when you think about like a whale shark is probably the closest thing that we can even to what a megalodon would have been.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Isn't a megalodon, put some sort of chart up here. That's
size comparison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause isn't it like as big as like a blue whale or bigger than a blue whale or something?
Well, I don't know that it was quite that big. Because it would have been, because they're 60 feet long, and I think a blue whale can be like 100 feet long.
Okay. Blue whales. That's a whole nother story. Those actually live in the ocean. Yeah. Like, we know they're there. Like, have you seen the videos of those just popping up next to people or on people and there's a fucking whale here.
We got to bleep so much at the beginning of this episode.
I'm sorry. The ocean really gets me going.
Yeah, whales are. I mean, just the thought of a fish that big.
Yeah.
Like, what do you even do? Like, it's big enough that it can swallow you basically whole.
We're on the verge of swallowing this entire show with this topic. So
it's interesting though. The final thing that I would point out is just
I had to reel us in a little bit.
Just in
no
terms
pun intended.
You think about a creature that's this big and this. I mean, this was the apex predator on the planet.
Yeah.
You like it's almost this kind of like microcosm or like allegory to accumulating wealth and power and like what happens at the end of the day, because Megalodon got so big that it had to consume like 2,500 pounds of food a day. It's like 100,000 calories a day to live. And you just ran out of things to eat.
Not enough.
They were too big and there wasn't enough stuff to eat.
Yeah, it's just wild. I saw that story and I immediately went to, megalodons are pretty big. And then from there I went to the oceans. It's terrifying. It's the worst.
It is terrifying. That's true.
Anyways, we'll get started with the show here. Let's kick it off with the Burning River Rundown.
Thanks you all for joining Shark Week.
Oh man, I haven't got that fired up for an opening topic yet. That was
I love sharks. There's nothing better. I always say there's nothing better than seeing sharks in the ocean.
He has said that since we were like
Shark
14.
Week. Shark Week is my favorite time of year. I can't wait.
So stories of note for the Browns this week. Always start with the Browns in the Burning River Rundown. Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, and Joel Bitonio were already going to the Pro Bowl. that we actually hadn't even touched on that. Bad on us.
Golf clap.
But yeah, good job, guys. And now Wyatt Teller has been added to the Pro Bowl roster.
Excellent.
He was originally an alternate and is now replacing Joe Thuney. Is it Thuney? Thuney?
Yeah, Thuney.
Thuney from the Chiefs.
Speaking of Wyatt, our Wyatt Christmas card fell down. You got to fix that.
Hold, please.
Wyatt's back now. We're good.
Hold, please. All right. So, So Wyatt Teller has joined the ranks. But here's the deal. Like, I know we'll get into this a little bit later. Why are Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio even going? It's flag football.
There's going to be a lot of contests.
What are they going to do? A strongman contest? I don't even. You're going to go through the lineup later.
Yeah, we'll go through that later. I do think the most interesting thing, though, is like you said, it's what do the linemen do? Because I suppose you could put them up there and have them pancake each other for fun.
Like, I feel like while they think flag football is much safer, and it probably is, it might actually be more dangerous for the linemen because like they're just. Like, I don't even know what they're doing. There's no pads. They're just like running into each other.
The only thing that might be fun would be like if they have like different packages, like maybe they'll have to sub in.
You want to see their packages.
You'll have to sub in the jumbo package.
Yeah.
And it'll just be all linemen running routes against linemen like that. Maybe that's how they're going to do it.
What was the John Madden quote from The Replacements? Because you get a big man spike and a big man dance.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, so good on them. We now have 4 Pro Bowlers from the Browns, so that's pretty cool. And then, I wanted to talk about some free agency notes here because I know free agencies, obviously that's the next thing that we have to focus on, that in the draft. But we don't have any picks in the draft,
so many free agency shows coming up.
Yeah, so but I wanted to kick it off here with
we do have some picks in the draft, though. By the way,
we do have some. It's kind of tongue in cheek. We have Deshaun Watson. We don't have any picks.
There's 8 actually. So I was looking at it today.
It's actually way more than I thought.
More than I thought. That's the only reason I bring it up. Is it's more than I thought.
But yeah, like you said, we'll get into plenty of free agency discussions as we kind of go on. But for now, I just want to highlight some of the guys that kind of left the Browns, went on to have success elsewhere, and now they're available again as free agents, and especially the ones in positions of need.
So just so I understand the exercise, we're looking at former Browns that we sent away, and we're like, we might need you back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what does everybody say when people leave the Browns?
They go on to do good things elsewhere. That's true.
Right. So I just wanted to highlight a few of them so that we could talk about them, and maybe they're a fit this year. I don't know. So number 1 here, Larry Ogunjobi. Was a pretty solid defensive tackle for us.
Yeah, I always liked Ogunjobi when he was here. I don't know how much he has left in the tank at this point. But I never had a problem with Larry Ogunjobi. I mean, I think he was an early kind of cap casualty. And again, the thinking at the time was probably just he's not irreplaceable. So they didn't
Which is
pay
fair.
him.
But he continues to play well.
But it is certainly an area of need.
Yeah, and
now.
so and you mentioned, you don't know where he's at in his career, wear and tear, those types of things. I mean, you think you get him at a discount, you bring him back, right? I mean, at least as an option. I'm not saying we absolutely bring this guy back. I'm saying it could be an option as like a depth piece.
The interesting thing, I think, just in general around free agency draft and positions of need for the Browns, specifically needing interior linemen, is this draft is supposedly, I'm not a draft expert, but I play one on TV, but is supposedly full of defensive tackles. Like, it's a big defensive tackle year.
So you think they might just go heavy in the draft and
well,
not ignore, but you might not see any sort of splash players in free agency?
Well, I actually almost think the opposite. I think because teams that have good picks and early picks are going to want the best talent, the best of the best for long term, and I think you might be able to get guys like Ogunjobi who were looking for their last contract. Would have been overvalued at his position. That is going into their last contract. So I think you might actually have opportunities to build that D line through free agency more so than some other positions this year.
Yep. And so along with Ogunjobi, we've got Vince Taylor. Another defensive tackle that's out there, played well elsewhere, and as far as options and depth pieces, like we just talked about, he's kind of the same, in my opinion. That's kind of like the same area that you see Ogunjobi in, right?
How old is Vincent Taylor?
Well, you're the
I'll look it up.
resident statistician. The old Google machine. I've been saying we need to install an Alexa down here. Alexa, tell me how old Vincent Taylor is.
29. Okay.
So
yeah, he still got some run there.
So yeah, so I mean, but I think he's probably, you start getting around the age of 30, pretty much any position in the NFL, and they don't want to pay you like they used to.
Well, especially guys like that. I mean, unless you're a generational talent, when you play with that much weight, it's just harder on your body. So I think just in general, their careers tend to be a little shorter than some of the skill position guys.
Yeah. So the next one up here, I have Elijah Lee at linebacker. God knows we are thin at linebacker. And the ones that we do have are much too small. So
true.
Just wanted to kind of throw him in the mix here. Not that he's a really big guy either, though. I guess he's 6'2", 229, so he's on the smaller.
Well, I think we're in the position to take anybody that we can. Come back to Cleveland.
And the good thing, we just talked about some of the other guys, Vince Taylor and Ogunjobi aging a little bit. Eli Lee is 26, so he's still kind of in his prime. And if you could get him for, not a premium,
put 10 pounds on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a solid pick for a linebacker group that is lacking in every sense of the word.
Yeah, and I think we had so much turnover there this year due to injuries. So even if a guy like Jacob Phillips comes back,
yep.
I mean, it's the second significant injury inside of 2 years. So
right.
You always hope those guys come back totally healthy and ready to play, but it's a gamble, just like Elijah Lee would be.
Yeah. And then next up, I have Jannard Avery, defensive end and outside linebacker.
There's a name that I missed that I'm intrigued by because I think he's a versatile player.
Well, he kind of slots in where you're losing that Jadeveon Clowney, but he's also a little bit more versatile, in my opinion, to where he could play a little bit of outside linebacker if we needed him to.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought. I always liked Jannard Avery.
I mean, obviously, he'd be more of a defensive end in our system, being what it is. But
yeah, I always liked him when he was here. I don't think he got utilized properly while he was here, but I think he has a lot of things you can't teach. The high motor, nose for the football. Yep. Is he like Dick Butkus? No, he's not Dick Butlick, but I think he's a solid NFL player that's borderline starter.
Yeah. Fair. And so, like, these are all guys, like, we're not saying sign them, don't sign them, anything like that. All these guys that we're talking about here are just guys that you might hear their name start popping up in free agency because I don't think any of these guys that we're talking about are the guys that are
highly sought after.
Yeah, they're not the guys that everybody's after. They're the guys that probably are like that next tier down where it's
which is kind of where we're shopping based on our assets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this next one is Carl Nassib, defensive end. He's kind of bounced around, but he's played pretty solid pretty much everywhere he's gone. He doesn't kind of light up the stat sheet or anything like that, but he's a solid player.
I think he was on the Super Bowl team with the Buccaneers, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I think he has a ring. So yeah, I mean, maybe
spent some time, I think, with Las Vegas.
Veteran leadership. I do know that he's really good at math. And accounting.
That's always good.
From Hard Knocks when he was teaching everybody how to manage their money, but
he could probably make sure the right amount of people are on the field. So
yeah, that's important.
Yeah,
we struggle with that at times.
Yeah. So, and then next up, your boy Kadarius Hodge, a wide receiver. I know you talked about him earlier in the season, and you love you some Kadarius Hodge.
I love me some Kadarius Hodge.
So I mean, that could be a depth piece at wide receiver. Again, not that he's like this putting up crazy stats or anything, but as far as depth at wide receiver, I know there's probably going to be some turnover in our wide receiver room. And
yeah, look, I respect Kadarius Hodge because I think he's a try-hard guy, but I don't know that he's an NFL starter or even.
I'm going to admit that was a little bit of a joke just because I know you love Kadero Hodge.
It's fair. Yeah.
But I don't think that we'll go after him. He was just a ex-Brown that happens to be available.
Fair.
One of the few that's done anything of note. So other names of note that are out there, but I don't think they'd really be a fit with us just because we have other areas of concern that are way ahead of this. Jordan Poyer and Jabril Peppers at the safety positions. Although I actually reassessed this, and now that I'm pretty sure, and we'll actually get into this in just a minute, I'm pretty sure John Johnson's going to be gone. So Jordan Poyer becomes a little bit more interesting, I would say.
It's funny how good Jordan Poyer became after he left the Browns.
Yeah, he had a stretch of probably 3 or 4 years where like he was known as one of the top safeties.
He was a top safety in the league for sure. At this point, he's 31.
But is he better than John Johnson was last year? Probably.
And he has a really, really pretty girlfriend or wife.
That's all Kenny cares about. Kenny is worried about the talent they bring with them when they sign with the Browns. So
at least he tried to break up LeBron's marriage. Allegedly.
Kenny's done. He can't do the rest of the show.
I'm still recovering from my illness. But yeah, I mean, he's an interesting name for sure. I don't know what's going to happen with John Johnson yet. I guess we'll see. But I don't
he's going to get cut
from a talent standpoint.
Unless somebody will give us something for him. He's going to get cut.
From a talent standpoint, like is John Johnson and Jordan Poyer comparable at this point? Yeah, probably. And does he bring less locker room baggage? Probably. So sure.
And then Jabril Peppers obviously is strong safety, so I don't know that we really. He'd be a fit for us. MJ Stewart, nickel corner.
Yeah, I would think like Jabril and MJ are guys. MJ probably has a better chance of coming because he's never really done anything outside of be a Brown. Jabril, I feel like, kind of left on not
weird terms.
It was just a weird
OBJ
terms
thing, and it was like nobody expected him to get traded.
Yeah, like
and then he was like, "Oh, what the hell?"
He wanted to be a Brown, so
we didn't want
it. So, like, to me, I feel like
we're probably at the bottom of his list.
The human nature component of it, yeah.
And then the final one I have on here, just again, name of note, not that I think we'll go after him at all, but Dontrell Hilliard at running back. Obviously, we're going to have some changes. Kareem Hunt's going to be gone. I think everybody expects that. If he's back, that's going to be amazing to me. But Kareem Hunt's going to be gone. But even still, I think we run with Dearness Johnson and Jerome Ford, and we're better there than we are with Dontrell Hilliard.
We run with them. see what you did there.
Earlier, I reeled us in during Fish Ocean talk, and then now we're running without Dontrell Hilliard.
Here's the only thing I would say is how many Browns podcasts this week talked about Dontrell Hilliard?
I don't know.
We gotta be the only one.
Look, we cover the Browns top to bottom, bro. We make sure that everybody knows all of the options. All right, and next up here, we're going to talk about some legitimate trade options for the Browns. And now I want to clarify before we start this, because people come in hot on social media. You start talking about this kind of stuff. We mentioned Nick Chubb's name, and people wanted to kill us. We didn't say that they should trade him. We said Stefanski would be dumb enough to trade him.
Like we were trading him ourselves?
Yeah, like they were so pissed at us. And then also, I'm just going to go ahead and clarify this now. I know that the GM makes the trades and not the coach, you idiots. Like, come on. Our point was that the coach has a say in those things. He has influence, and Kevin Stefanski's offense is an air raid offense that doesn't value the running back enough.
Right. So I think that's what we mean by would Kevin Stefanski trade Nick Chubb, is if Kevin Stefanski doesn't see the need for a generational talent at running back and you could acquire assets for him, does that make sense? Because you could probably get away with Dearness Johnson and Jerome Ford in that backfield with a Deshaun Watson offense.
And here's the funniest thing to me. Since we ran that a couple weeks ago, literally you talked about no other podcast talks about Dontrell Hilliard. Well, every other podcast has basically talked about would they trade Chubb? What could you get for Chubb? Well, it's because you could get some legitimate assets for Nick Chubb. So again, hang on, let me start this segment by saying these are not things that we think should happen. these are not things that we would do. These are things that we say that we're just saying could make sense. So
I'll take it a step further.
Go ahead.
I'll say I think some of these things are very likely, and I'm even supportive of it at this point,
including the one we just talked about.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll have the discussion because here's the thing. What I would say is this: there's a lot of fan favorites, air quotes, fan favorites on this team. What was your record this year?
Yeah.
What was your record last year? What was
you
your
have
record
all the
the year
fan
before
favorites
that?
you want. We keep losing. People don't like the team.
You keep losing. So obviously there's something wrong, and it's not that any of these names that we might bring up, whether it's Nick Chubb, Wyatt Teller, David and Joe, like any names that you hear in trade rumors, it's not that they're bad guys or even necessarily that they're bad fits. Like it's just, is it the right time and the right place for them on this roster? And given where you are from a salary cap perspective and given where you are from a draft capital perspective, does it make sense if you can get value out of one of these guys, because you have to continue to build the team?
Yeah.
I want Nick Chubb to be a Brown
forever,
for the rest of his career.
I've said it multiple times. I'll continue to say it. He's my favorite Cleveland Brown of all time.
Yeah, I don't want to see Nick Chubb go anywhere, but I also don't want to see Nick Chubb get underutilized in an offense to where he has no impact. And it's like Kareem Hunt this year, right? What did we say every week? Why are they even playing this guy? When we got to the point of the trade deadline, it's like, why not make it? If you could get a fifth rounder for him, why not? Because he wasn't offering you anything on the field, and he was just taking up a roster spot.
Yep.
So if that's what Nick Chubb becomes, then that would be a damn shame. But it's not outside of the realm of possibility given the offense they want to run.
Here's the thing with Nick Chubb, too, is we're not even saying that he would become what Kareem Hunt was this year. Hell, even if it got not even close to that. Like if he dropped down to where he legitimately averaged 13, 14 carries a game, why is he on your team?
Well, yeah, I just think he's not. It's like having a four-wheel drive car when you don't drive anywhere.
Yeah, like, when all you do is take the car down the road to the grocery store and back.
If you live in New York City and you take the subway, you're not going to buy an $80,000 Mercedes.
Right. It doesn't make sense. So anyways, we put Nick Chubb in there before, got slaughtered for it on social media. But we mentioned him again just because, like, that's the kind of player that we're talking about here.
Well, and I think that he's one of the most intriguing options because
you can get some
value
that's rare in a running back.
Yeah, I mean, you could get value, and I don't know what that value is today, but anybody that's watched football in the last 2 to 3 years knows Nick Chubb is one of the preeminent runners in the game today, and for the next 2 to 3 years could be a workhorse for you.
And the other part of that is no other position in the NFL besides maybe linebacker has been devalued this much in recent years.
Yeah.
It's running back and linebacker. Basically what teams go with is you can run those things by committee and be okay, and it's not a big deal. Because of the way the NFL has evolved.
So I've seen a lot of teams do it. I mean, probably most famously is just the Patriots, watching what they've done and how many
They've never had like a legit running back.
I mean,
like at least
Corey Dillon maybe was the last like good running back they had, and they had a bunch of guys that could play a role.
Yeah, like right now they have probably their best prospect in years in Ramondre.
Well, yeah, Ramondre's good, but that's not traditionally the kind of guy that they had. No. But you notice they bring in a guy like that when their offense has to start changing shape because you don't have Tom Brady at the helm anymore.
Right. So we'll move past Nick Chubb. We're just saying he is a legitimate trade option at this point, whether anybody wants to admit that or not. Next up, we got Jed Wills. And I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here. I'm going to just kind of offer you something. You tell me if you would take that or not. So Jed Wills, third rounder or better.
Take.
Fourth rounder or better.
Take.
Fifth rounder or better.
Take.
Sixth rounder or better.
Take.
Seventh rounder or better.
I took a dump before the show. I'd take that.
God damn. So basically you're saying trade Jed Wills for anything.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything for him. An old leather shoe.
So I disagree. I don't think Jed Wills is good. I think we need to trade him. But what I do know is, I mentioned it earlier in the season, there's a number of like PFF type publications that claim that he had a okay year, not a good year, just an okay year. and have him as one of the better young linemen in the league. And so if somebody's willing to give you, and I think we could get probably a fourth and then another late rounder for him, I absolutely would take that.
Those are the same people that say Kevin Stefanski is the best analytics coach of all time. So
the whole good old Wapaway.
Wapaway, yeah. So here's my thing about Jed is you have $230 million standing behind him. And for the offense that they want to run, he becomes...
That's actually probably the biggest case.
He becomes your most crucial lineman.
Yeah.
And he's not a lineman, he's a liability.
Yeah, I mean, at that point you say, we have $230 million guaranteed behind the line, and that's the guy that's responsible for keeping him on the field.
Yeah.
How do you feel right now?
Let's go back to New York City. You're living in New York City, and you take the subway, you buy an $80,000 Mercedes, and you leave it outside with the keys in it. Like, that's what Jed Wills is.
Yeah. Next, gosh, we need a better left tackle. That's for sure. Wyatt Teller, he's an interesting one. He's up next. We love Wyatt Teller here. I think he's a great guy and everything. But here's the deal with Wyatt.
He wrestles alligators.
He does. But here's the deal with Wyatt Teller. He's got a $13 million cap hit this year. And we don't have a ton of money to work with. I know everybody's going to say, yeah, we got a bunch of rollover money. Well, that gets eaten up pretty quick when you're trying to build a team. And
especially when you have $55 million coming due.
Yeah.
At quarterback.
Yeah. And that's what people forget. Yeah, there's rollover money, but we haven't started paying anybody yet. No, Deshaun Watson made $1 million last year, in case anyone was wondering. He made $1 million last year. This year, $55 million.
And so when we first started this topic, we started talking about fan favorites and not wanting to get rid of them. To this point of, like, you have money coming due, the Browns offense, and I wish I hadn't screen capped the article because they were like, I want to say the 8th most expensive offense in the NFL this year. I don't have the exact figure, but they were one of the most expensive offenses in the NFL this year. And
before Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So now you got $55 million coming into that number. And what did it get you? What did it get you? Look, I love Wyatt Teller. I think Wyatt's a great player. I think he's a road grader. I think the other name that comes up here that's even more intriguing from a trade proposal standpoint is probably Joel Bitonio. And people don't want to hear that either because he's a certified Hall of Famer when he retires.
Year in and year out Pro Bowler.
Yeah. But he's also probably a little bit older. And when you think about the future, would you rather hold on to a guy like Wyatt or would you rather hold on to Joel Bitonio?
Which is a fair question. And so, like, both of these players, I mean, not that we're not saying we could afford you're getting another guy that's going to come in and play just as well. That's not what we're saying. But can you afford, with a Bill Callahan coached line, to plug somebody in there and be okay? Maybe you get a step down, but they're okay and they get coached up along the way.
And here's, again, going back to just the general idea of we're playing a game without a ton of assets. And the game that we want to play is changing in terms of scheme, right? So if we're going to be throwing the ball a lot more, if guys like Nick Chubb were to become expendable, I think you also have guys like Wyatt that are expendable, Bitonio that are expendable. And the reason why is because I can maybe pass off a lineman that's not as good as Wyatt and not as good as Joel if they're a good pass blocker. Maybe they're not a great overall lineman. Maybe they don't have the run blocking skills that these guys have. But if we're not worried about running the ball and that being the focal point of the offense, and you could get away with a guy that is less costly but is a solid pass blocker, that might be all you need in this offense.
Yeah, and like we said, pretty much anybody that you're going to plug in, especially if they're already on the team, or even most likely if you get them in free agency for a lot cheaper than these guys, anybody that you plug in is not going to be them. But again, we say they're coached by Bill Callahan, who is widely known as one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. And while we ripped on the line coming down the stretch this year because they kind of faltered, they've kind of proven since Bill Callahan's been there that our line is great every time they're healthy. Like every time we start a season, we start the season phenomenally.
They're widely regarded as the one of the best lines in football. And I think it helps that they have one of the best backs in football. Because
he makes everyone look good.
He makes you look good. But
take him away, Stefanski.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's it's it's both sides to that, right? Like, can you survive without some of these guys? Yes. Will it suck because you won't be able to run the ball as good? Yes. But if that's what feeds the beast, right? If that's what leads to the DePodesta, Stefanski offense that they want to run, then those are decisions that you have to make. And I think I have one other name that I would throw in here, and it's David Njoku. I think we need receivers and depth there, but he's young. He's uber athletic. He's coming off his best season ever. And if the Browns were to make a move in free agency to bring in DeAndre Hopkins or any other good top tier receiver,
we'll get into that
top flight receiver,
another episode.
Yeah, we'll talk free agency later.
D-Hop is, I think, if we got Nuke, I'd be pretty stoked.
Yeah, so I think you have to look at that and go, again, this hasn't worked for us. Having David Njoku, what has it done for you? Not that I dislike David Njoku. I love David Njoku. I think he's an interesting piece to have on a roster. I think he's got tremendous athleticism. He had a good year this year. He was mostly healthy. And I think he's a good run blocker. But again, going back to this whole thing, if we're not going to run the ball.
I think your whole point is the fact that you'd get a haul for him.
Well, yeah, you have to trade people that people want.
And by a haul, I mean, you're probably getting like a second rounder for him, but that's still a big piece.
Your beggars can't be choosers at this point, right? I mean, you got to get what you can get.
Now, there's the flip side of this too. So, like, we're talking about second rounders, third rounders, what have you. I'm actually of the opposite thinking. I think the draft is a crapshoot, so I'm.
Oh yeah.
I'm more like go get free agents. Just use the draft to supplement. In the best team to talk, you talked about them earlier already, is the Patriots. The Patriots, not that they went and got the big names, but they would go get all the solid players off of free agency, and then they'd pick and choose in the draft because they always had late first round picks. They never had the early picks. They would do hard work as far as scouting and those types of things, and they would make sure that they hit as often as possible on those picks. And they built their teams through free agency, and it was all those second tier guys like we're talking about.
Sure.
That's how they built those teams, and so.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it is.
So I was just saying to your Njoku point, like I don't see them moving him, but that's a good one to throw up there because you can get assets for him.
I do think it's, and again, I'm not an NFL executive, but it does seem like NFL organizations overvalue draft picks that
it's wild.
Have potential to be both good and bad versus the general conservative idea of like how most NFL teams operate, right? So it's a little bizarre, but the fact is that these teams do value these draft picks. I mean, look at what we got Amari Cooper for.
Yeah.
A fifth rounder.
Yeah, I will say this. There probably is something to be said about putting all your eggs in the free agency basket, though, because look what happened to the Rams. I mean, all of their guys kind of came of age, that 30-year-old mark, all at the same time, and now they fall off a cliff.
Well, I think they got
a Super Bowl out of it.
There's always risk of free agency because you have guys that if they're good on their first contract, now they're looking to get paid, and they're usually after a money grab. So we've been burned there. I mean, we had Kenny Britt and what was the other guy? Dwayne Rainbow came through. I mean, some of these guys that were just looking for the last NFL contract. And so you can get burned in free agency too.
Dwayne Bowe was the biggest heartbreaker because he was so consistent. And then he came to the Browns and literally fell off a cliff.
Yeah, and just started fires in the locker room.
Yeah.
Just lit the thing on fire every day.
Final name in here, John Johnson. I'll literally take anything for this guy.
the dump I took earlier?
Yeah. Like, just if anybody offers you anything, you take it. Because he's, like I said, he's probably getting cut anyways with all the shit he started this year.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he
didn't play well.
Maybe he comes into the locker room though with a fresh take and is rejuvenated by the fact that Jim Shorts is there. And
he comes in and grovels and says, "Please forgive me."
Well, I mean, if he comes in and says,
"I love you, Jim Shorts,"
he says, "Joe Woods was the problem, put me in a bad position and on every play, and no one knew what they were doing." Look, John Johnson wasn't the only Browns defender that played bad last year.
Oh, no.
We talked about Miles being the PFF, standout stud at 92, that Jadeveon was your next best grade on the line. Who was your second leading sacker on this team this year?
probably going to tell me it was John Johnson.
Taven Bryan.
Oh,
how many sacks did Taven Bryan have?
He's coming up next. I don't know.
3. He had 3.
I was going to say
3.
not a lot.
So you have Miles at 15 or 16. You have Taven Bryan at 3. He's your next best option.
Feels bad.
So there's a lot of players on this team that frankly, no one on that defense outside of Miles and maybe Zell should be safe.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
And Martin Emerson, he was new, but
Martin Emerson, Newsome, he played well, for the most part. So that actually, you mentioned Taven Bryan. That's a good segue into the next section of this here is guys that I'm predicting, probably we are predicting, that are going to be one and done with the Browns. They played this season. We brought them in. They were new. Some of these guys were exciting when we brought them in, and now they're going to be gone because for one reason or another. So we're going to start with Chase Winovich. Obviously, when we brought him in, made the trade for Chase Winovich, a lot of people were really excited, but he just never really got healthy. Couldn't live up to the potential. Played in only 8 games for the Browns this year, and the Browns also discovered Alex Wright, who now, at the very least, is Chase Winovich's equal.
Yeah,
at this point. So.
Certainly Alex Wright, I think has potential to be has good upside. I don't know that they'll walk away from Chase Winovich at this point because I think if anything this year underscored, and I would say the same about your next option here. I think this year underscored the absolute need for depth at the position at defensive line. So I do think those guys that can play interior, can play rush, like those guys are so important, and I think they're important in a gym shorts offense or defense. Sorry. So I do think that he's going to value those guys. I mean, you heard him say like Miles is going to be his anchor, and so you have to have complementary pieces there if you're going to let Miles run wild.
That's fair, but I just...
Even though he did suck this year.
Yeah, he was not good. Taven Bryan is the next one up here. Taven Bryan, so Andrew Berry took this guy because he was a former first-rounder that didn't live up to hype. It's basically Andrew Berry's MO. Those are the guys he loves to find. He finds former first-rounders that didn't play as well as they should have and said, we can get them for a steal. So he thought he could catch lightning in a bottle with him, and... Again, he didn't live up to. Well, I guess I should say he did live up to expectations.
He's expectations. Second best sacker.
Expectations of being a horrendous run stopper. So he did exactly what he's done his whole career so far, and he played extremely undisciplined. But I guess that might be a Stefanski argument to keep him around long term.
Oh yeah.
Again, one more thing with Taven Bryan is there was multiple times this year where. Not only myself just seeing him play, but people around Cleveland were bringing up effort as a big issue with him, as he would take plays off and those types of things. But again, maybe that's a Kevin Stefanski staple, like he should be staying here. So
you don't try hard, and you're undisciplined. Sign him long term.
10-year deal.
I think part of it too with Brian is. Excuse me.
You gonna make it through the show?
My pneumonia or whatever I have is getting me.
I might be back solo next week. He might be dead.
Solo. I think the other problem with Taven Bryan is not even just effort, because I think he's just outmatched from
you just think that he's not very good. He's
physicality standpoint. I just think he's just not. I think he's
a bust.
I think he's a very below average at his position.
Fair. Next up on the list of one and dones, we got Jacoby Brissett, because obviously, I mean, we've got
He's not going to be the starter next year.
No.
Are we done having that discussion?
Yeah. But I do hope, I think along with the rest of Cleveland, we all hope that he lands on his feet and gets a decent deal somewhere. He definitely earned it with Cleveland this year. I know he's kind of a journeyman quarterback, but he showed that he can still start and win games for somebody.
Jacoby Brissett is like the one, like, good story that's come out of Cleveland in the debacle that we've been for the last 2 decades. Usually these guys come in, they screw everything up, and you're like, can we get this guy out of town fast enough? Jacoby's the first guy that's came in it delivered and exceeded expectations in every sense of the word. And really, like,
the rest of the team let him down.
We all feel bad because A, the team let him down, and like B, it was just an impossible situation to begin with because he knew there was no future here, but he knew that this was his best shot to put his name out there and get some tape. And I think he's played himself into, maybe not a quarterback one role next year, but he's going to get another contract.
True. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. I think that there's an outside chance he lands somewhere as a starter or at least competing for a starting job.
Absolutely.
But at the very least, he earned a solid. People forget quarterbacks get paid a lot. So they don't forget that part of it, but they forget that like backups still get paid a decent amount. So I think he played himself into a solid contract for a backup quarterback at the very least.
And I think this year showed you that there's a lot of questions about quarterbacks in this league still, because a lot of the old guard has, maybe taken that step towards either A, not playing anymore, they could retire, and B, some of them weren't as effective or on good teams, even if they played okay. So they may just end up being moved because of that.
Well, and talk about just the asset that Jacoby Brissett would be for anybody, because how many teams in the NFL, outside of maybe the 49ers, have multiple good quarterbacks, like solid starting quarterback,
and even
on
the
their roster.
49ers didn't have enough of them.
Everybody got hurt, obviously. But I'm just saying, like they're probably the only other ones I could think of. Like, obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to be gone, and they'll have Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, who are both starters.
Well, yeah, I think
outside of them, who else has
when you think about quarterbacks,
two solid starters?
And there's 32 NFL teams, so there's one quarterback for each. There's 32. There's a big difference between the guy who's the 33rd best quarterback in the league and the guy that's the 64th best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
And Jacoby's probably right on that line. I mean, he's probably better. You can make the argument that he's better than some starters, but if he's not a starter, then he's 33,
and
right?
The crazy thing about that stat that you just threw out there is how many quarterbacks this year started more than 12 games, started 12 games or more for their team this year?
Probably not very many.
12.
Yeah.
12. So you're talking about all these teams having to go to their backups.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Jacoby's going to get paid because that's such an asset to have a Jacoby Brissett that can come in and you aren't necessarily worried like, oh God, this is our liability now. And he can come in and be a solid starter for
especially on a team kind of like the Browns were this year, where we thought, hey, if we can kind of get through the muck, we're a playoff team.
He was like a perfect fit for us, but we wasted it.
But for a team next year, maybe that either has a quarterback that's coming off of injury or a just stacked roster behind them that needs that kind of insurance. I mean, you could lose your QB1 on a good team, and Jacoby could take you into the playoffs.
Absolutely. And then I'm just going to move on here. We love Jacoby. Hope he lands somewhere and gets paid a little bit here. So, but the final guy on my one and done list is Ethan Pochik. And it's not because of anything negative. Dude played himself into a major payday that the Browns are not going to be willing to pay him. Especially, they're going to have Nick Harris coming back, if I'm not mistaken. So that was technically your starter this year at center. And then Ethan Pochik came in after the fact as the backup. And so I think Ethan Pochik's going to get paid big time, and I think he's going to go somewhere and be a solid center for somebody else.
And they've got other options too, because Pochik was really like the third or fourth option. Even
he's third because what's his name? We had him retire. Why am I?
What?
Our center retired. After we didn't re-sign him,
J.C. Treader.
Yeah, why I drew a blank. J.C. Treader didn't resign, and then he retired. He was like, I'm done.
I'm trying. There was somebody else that didn't, because Nick Harris got hurt in the preseason during like training camp. So there was somebody else that they had slated that then also got hurt like the week before the season started or something. And then,
either way, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter. I mean,
Ethan Pochik played himself into a big contract.
I do think that there's still injury concerns with Pochik, and I think he had those coming into Cleveland. That was kind of why no one knew who he was. So I do think maybe there's opportunity for them to try to re-sign him.
Someone's taking a swing at him.
You do have to pay someone, right? I mean, we don't have a lot of assets and cap space, but
with everything you just said,
you do have to pay some of these guys.
Everything you just said about injury concerns and those types of things, analytics which our team is run by, would tell you that he's not the guy that you're paying that money to. So somebody
Probably
else
not.
is probably going to pay him.
Well, again, I think, and then to your point, that is he replaceable? Because what we just talked about, right? If you can find a guy that maybe isn't Ethan Pocic, but is he a solid pass blocker?
I don't know, Nick Harris.
Is he a solid pass blocker, and is he an okay run blocker?
It's probably
Because
Nick
I can
Harris.
survive with that.
It's probably Nick Harris.
Maybe. We haven't seen Nick Harris play. I feel like Nick Harris is one of those guys that was like, it's not nepotism, but like he was just next in line, and everybody's just like, yeah, well, Nick Harris obviously will be the center. Sure.
That's it for the one and done guys, though. That's all that I think are going to be one and done. Chase Winovich, Taven Bryan, Jacoby Brissett, and Ethan Pocic. To wrap up Browns talk here for the week, fun fact, Andrew Berry's twin, Adam, is leaving a finance job to join the NFL and follow in his brother's footsteps. So you think we could have whoever he signs with have like a parent trap situation going on? They're just going to trade places, just trick us all. Like, ha, fooled you.
Pneumonia. Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, bizarre the state that we find ourselves in with the way that they're pulling talent into front offices at this point, because it's kind of like the Drew Carey show. Like, we just make up the points and nothing really matters. And we're just like,
where the points are made up.
Did you go to Ivy League school? Okay.
Where everything's made up and the points don't matter. There it is. Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty crazy that the twin brothers are going to be in front offices in the NFL.
I mean, because even if you're a guy that is supportive of Andrew Berry and you say like, oh, yeah, like the analytics and academia is, these guys are really smart. We tried this with Sashi Brown too. Like he was also an acclaimed lawyer and very smart, was in the organization for years. So he had good football background and he was able to burn this thing down. So,
oh man,
I don't know.
All right, so that'll take us to the Cavaliers.
The Cavaliers.
The Cleveland Cavaliers. You feel like you're in the arena right now?
I'm at Crump.
Do you feel like you're in the arena?
Fire flames. Burning River Sportscast.
So the Cavaliers they find themselves at 31-21 right now. They're kind of keeping pace while people are injured. Still fifth in the East, second in the Central. Continue to struggle on the road. They are, fun fact, the best team in the NBA at home this year.
I was just going to say it. Like they're
21-5.
They are literally the best team in the NBA at home.
And on the road, they're 10-16. It's just wild. Like how can arenas be that different? Like really, like it's the same basketball hoop. It's the same height. The court's all the same size. Like it can't be that different.
I think.
I mean, you played, not that we played at that level, but you played sports in some pretty high-pressure situations.
I think that it is actually, because I was actually just listening to them talk about, there was a controversy a few weeks ago when they changed the floor, because they did like a throwback floor. Yep. And because they did that, they had put the new floor like just on the old floor. And so everything was off a little bit. They had readjusted the hoops and stuff, so they were right regulation. But they were saying just even in the arena, like,
the hoops sit on top of the floor, man. So it would have just been the same. But go on.
Regardless, I'm just saying. So, look,
threw them off completely.
But like their line of sight and things were different for like shooting free throws. Like all of a sudden you're in the same building, but now the things that you're used to seeing aren't there anymore.
So like you're like an inch and a half up, so like the next chair up in the stands is there.
It's all of a sudden now in your sight line.
Yeah.
So and I don't know if that's the same as like, but I could see that like that could be enough to throw you off. Maybe in a game where it's a precision, approximation game.
And to be honest, I don't really care. I was just asking the question, like, is it really that different? But I guess it is. You've made the argument, and I accept your argument.
And I do think that they've fallen victim to like some back-to-backs, games that like sometimes are like scheduled losses just because they were on a road trip, and it's
they play the Warriors in a back-to-back, and the Warriors sit their entire team, and we still lose to them. So
fair. Well, it's also a young team.
I know. It's just I think it's kind of funny because around Cleveland, you listen to the radio and you listen to a lot of these fans with the Cavaliers right now, and it is all doom and gloom. They're like, my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
We need to make a move. We need to do something. It's like, guys, the whole team hasn't played together but like 10 games this year. So
yeah, the one thing that is a little bit concerning, like, is if you look at their offensive numbers, like they're one of the, from like a point, just a pure points scored, they're in the bottom like 5 of the league.
They play defense,
but that's the thing, is they play defense, and
it's the way the Cavaliers have played for a long time.
They play slow ball.
Yeah.
So I don't know that, like, I know that sounds concerning on the surface, but the way that they play the game, the pace is dictated by the defense that they play and the offense that they run.
Guess what? What happens in the NBA playoffs every year? Everybody clamps down, and all of a sudden the points per game go down by like 20.
Yeah, so it could be said that the Cavaliers are just already playing playoff basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but but yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, the defensive, like, teams get more defensive in the postseason. So maybe at least style-wise, they're playing more like that than a lot of other teams. But anyways, we mentioned last week that Donovan Mitchell went down with a groin strain. He came back last week, but re-aggravated the injury and has missed some more games since then. Others are kind of trying to have to step up. And overall, they're just treading water until they can get him healthy and some of these other guys healthy. I know, like, Kevin Love had a back strain or whatever he had, and he just started practicing again. But anyways, some of these other guys have had to step up, and Chetty Osman was one of those guys, and he had a career-high 29 points and tied a career high in that same game, going 7 of 7 from 3, and that was on Sunday, which would have been 129, 29th of January that he did this. And it was a pretty impressive performance by him, and they won that game easily against the Clippers. Granted, you talked about back-to-backs. The Clippers sat their whole team.
Yeah.
So in the process of that game, and making all 7 of those threes, he passed Boobie Gibson for 6th all-time on the Cavs three-point list, and he's 2 makes away from tying J.R. Smith. So those are some pretty well-known names, part of teams that went to championship series.
It's hard to believe that he's played that many games with the Cavs already.
Are you looking ahead to my next...
No, just from a sheer amassing stats standpoint.
Oh, yeah. So my next
point... It doesn't seem like Chetty's been here that long.
Yeah, my next point, though, was what's wild about Chetty passing these guys, and specifically J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith is on the list. Like I said, he's sitting at number, what did I say, 5? So he passed Boobie Gibson for 6. Yeah, so J.R. Smith's sitting at 5 right now on the Cavs all-time 3-points made list with 585. Chetty right now has 583, just past Boobie Gibson, who had 582. Boobie Gibson played in 397 games for the Cavs. Chetty Osman has played in 377 games for the Cavs. J.R. Smith played in 255 games for the Cavs and made 585 threes.
Well, you know, J.R. is a sharpshooter.
Yeah, I mean, he's just built different, man. Dude just came in, and I remember some of just the most ridiculous threes that he would take on our run to the championship, and those, and not just the championship year, but like those years that we were going to the championship every year, and. Dude, he would just take the most ridiculous shots, and he would make them.
JR is definitely one of the most fun, like, and engaging sports personalities that we've had in the last several years. Even though you have the really bad finals goof up.
It is what it is.
And then, like, things kind of went sour from there, and he was throwing soup at people in the cafeteria. Like, that wasn't good, but I think we all remember the good days, right? We remember shirtless JR at the parade. Like,
well, he's kind of been forgiven for all that stuff we talked about. I mean, people still welcome him back here and like to see him around.
Incredible that he those numbers, though.
Yeah, and my favorite highlight from J.R. Smith wasn't even a three-pointer, a wild three-pointer that he took. It was, I don't know if you remember, I forget who was the point guard at the time. It might have been Kyrie, but I think it was whoever was coming off the bench for us.
Dellavedova?
It might have, no, it wasn't Dellavedova. But anyways, they came down the court and point guard alley-ooped him. And he caught it, and he was like midair spinning and was like off balance, and he just did a complete like brought it down between his legs, went backwards with it, and dunked it, and just the most athletic play I think I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I don't even know how that was possible, and he did it. And then you get to looking at some of JR's dunks throughout his career, and they're the most ridiculous things you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's a flashy guy.
So, and then I know he isn't a Cavalier anymore, but we mentioned LeBron James chasing the all-time scoring record last week. Currently needs 117 points to get there. We're filming this on January 30th, recording this on January 30th. So he needs 117 points to get there. And he's projected still to get it on the 9th of February. In his last 5 games, 41, 20, 46, 37, and 23. We said it last week. We'll say it again. Just so impressive in your 20th career. Or 20th career. He's had 20 careers. And in your 20th season of your NBA career. And then also he got robbed this week by the refs, in case anyone didn't catch that. Just
yeah, real quick about LeBron and the countdown that we're going to just keep doing all year. I was just looking, what's LeBron James's career assist number?
Like 8.7. You're talking about per game or his total?
Just for a career, because it's a lot. Okay, 10,000 number I was looking for. When you consider the amount of points that he has scored, and the fact that he has over 10,000 assists, I mean, and you compare that to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's numbers and this, the point total. I think he had like 5,600 assists. So. This isn't just a guy that was just chucking up the rock every chance he had. But he has double the amount of assists. It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely responsible for far many more points.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close. And LeBron has always said, it's, this was never on my radar. I'm a pass first guy, which, I mean, the numbers actually bear that out. I mean, he's got a lot of assists. But he did get absolutely robbed by the refs in their game against Boston the other day.
Yeah, he did.
And I just wanted to bring that up because it's amazing to me that in year 20, he's consistently not getting calls. I think this is the second or third time this year where he's had a final possession and he's been clearly hacked. You could screenshot these things and he's clearly hacked.
I'll put a picture up here.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find a montage of that, but it's just hacked and doesn't get a call. They never did that shit to Jordan.
True.
Jordan always got his calls.
I know that he got a lot of shit this week about kind of his reaction to getting hacked and not getting the call. And look, you can say what you want about LeBron being a baby, and that's all fine and fair. Like, I've seen enough LeBron flops in my life to where you. My
favorite is when he thinks when he acts like he got poked in the eye when nobody touched him.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair that LeBron has cried wolf a number of times, but this was the one time that I was like, how did that even get missed?
Well, and all you people that are sitting here complaining about LeBron flopping, if you don't want LeBron to flop, the ref should probably make that call, because LeBron flops because they don't make that call. So if he would have sold it and fell on the floor and like in process of the shot, not after complaining about it, but then maybe he would have got the foul call.
And I think the other thing that's an interesting wrinkle right now for us here in Ohio is the fact that they've just legalized sports betting.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot more money on these games, because wasn't just Ohio that's passed legislation for this. So there's a lot more money on these games and a lot more, I don't know what you call them, like commonplace or retail gamblers now that are just putting money on games randomly because they can.
If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, by the way.
Great, thank you. I'm done.
I gotcha. So that's it for the Cavs, though. We're going to go ahead and talk about the Guardians here. Some terribly sad news for the Guardians this week. Longtime drummer for the team in the bleachers, John Adams, passed away this morning, actually, January 30th, 2023. So he will be missed. He will be remembered. And I think for generations, they will be pumping that bass drum sound into the stadium for everybody to hear.
Yeah, certainly a fan favorite. That was one of those things that just became normal about going to an Indians Now Guardians game was. I
will say this: if you've ever been to an Indians or Guardians game, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Like whether you're a fan of the team or not, you know exactly what we're talking about.
It became such a part of the experience.
Yeah.
Just an incredible legacy. I mean, this would have been, or this was his 50th season as an Indians Guardians fan. More than 3,700 games in his lifetime. And in August, he was actually the 12th person to be inducted into the team's distinguished Hall of Fame for non-team members. So there's a bronze drum and a bleacher seat that were moved to Heritage Park in his honor. So
which is a pretty awesome sculpture. What am I trying to say? Memorial.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So check that out if you get a chance.
Yeah, just a good guy. Seen a lot. 3 All-Star games, 11 playoff series, 3 World Series, and Len Barker's perfect game. So when you think about just a life well lived and doing what you love, this guy was it, man.
Yep. So he definitely will be missed this season and every season going forward, but his bass drum will continue to be played over those speakers. With that being said, spring training does open for the Guardians this coming month. February 17th.
It's already here.
I know, it's crazy. February 17th, pitchers and catchers report. Everyone else reports for the first full squad workout on February 21st. And then the first spring game is against the Reds on February 25th. So it's almost time.
Almost time.
For the Guardians.
Mi madre.
Let's go, Guards.
Mi madre.
Let's go, Guards.
Let's go, Guards.
Sorry, I got excited.
Mi madre asked me yesterday. She's asked if she could be a sidekick when we talk about the Guards on the show.
Is she passionate?
She's like, I'm the biggest Indians fan of all time. And
did you tell her that's not their name anymore, so you can't be that big of a fan?
She loves her baseball, but I was like, we don't really have sidekicks.
No. Maybe we'll do a Mom's Day because my mom actually is a huge Guardians fan as well.
We'll write the outline and let them do the show.
We could get some views. All right, so don't forget, call into the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. Call in, talk to us about anything. Cavs, Guardians, Browns, we want to hear it all. What do you have a problem with? What do you want to see next year? What do you want to see this year? Do you want us to win? Do you want us to lose? You just let us know.
Do you want us to lose?
330-227-8080.
330-227-8080.
Call us now. And with that, we will take a quick revenue break, and then we'll come back here, and we'll talk about the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, the newest craft distillery in Northeast Ohio. Located in Akron and family-owned, Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth, award-winning premium vodka, a small-batch silver rum made from the highest-grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery. Visit towpath-distillery.com to find an agency near you where the spirits are available, and ask your local bartender and restaurateur. Towpath Distillery. Handcrafted, small batch, local, and family-owned.
How smooth?
Ultra smooth.
It sounded like you were picking up a bag of grain.
All right.
Ultra smooth.
I had something in my throat there that I couldn't get out while I was reading that. All right. Up next, we got the NFL Conference Championship recap. All right, so we'll start this thing off with the AFC Championship. You had the Bengals at the Chiefs. This was a good game to watch.
This was a good game to watch. That's just hard-hitting analysis.
This was good. The Bengals and the Chiefs both played well in this one, and they're I'm going to call this out right away because I know this was like the hot topic coming out of the game. Is there were some questionable calls against the Bengals. There was like a clock stoppage, a no holding call. The Chiefs were given an extra down at one point, and there was a few more. And I'm no conspiracy guy, but it really seemed like the NFL wanted the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl here.
Well, I'll say just like the LeBron thing, I think there's a lot more people with money on the game now than there used to be. So I think
there's a lot more people paying attention.
There's a lot more people paying attention, and when things don't go your way,
yeah,
you want a reason why.
Oh yeah. So here's the thing, though, and this is why I say, I'm not a conspiracy guy, is they can say that there was bad calls against the Bengals all they want, but really what cost the Bengals, no one play ever costs you the game, but what cost them the game
was pretty close.
Yeah, this is about as close as it gets, was the final play before the game-winning field goal by the Chiefs, when the defensive end hit Pat Mahomes while he was going out of bounds for God knows what reason. And he knows it was a bad mistake. And
oh, yeah. I mean, you feel terrible for that guy because he knows it.
As soon as he did it. And, it wasn't even, an egregious one. Pat Mahomes sold it. But it was enough.
He was clearly out of bounds.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely enough for a penalty. You can't hit it. You can't. Even if you're just shoving a guy, you can't shove him when he's out of bounds, especially a quarterback, especially Patrick Mahomes when he's got a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'll say Patrick Mahomes played like he didn't have a high ankle sprain. He was phenomenal. You can
hardly tell, except for those few times that he did take off and run.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have the same kind of mobility that he had, but it didn't seem to affect him throwing the ball. So he played phenomenal. And watching this game, like you said, it was a good game to watch. And it was almost like
game.
It was like when you pick a movie on Netflix and you're really into it, and then the whole thing was a dream. It's just like a real terrible ending because we were robbed by Onassis or whatever his name was that hit Pat Mahomes out of bounds, because at that point, that would have been a really long field goal, which they could have still made it. But I think
you're talking like it wasn't like a 63 yard
and
or
it was,
something like that?
cold there. So it was a long field goal to try and
we got robbed of extra football.
We got robbed of extra football in a game that was a good game that was back and forth to watch. So I was totally disappointed that we didn't get that overtime, because it was a joy to watch. It was a back and forth game.
Yeah, I will. I'll say this: when the Bengals got the ball with a minute and a half left and proceeded to go 3 and out, and gave the Chiefs the ball with 30 seconds left, I was like, this is it. They're going to lose. They're going to kick a field goal. Those are the times that Patrick Mahomes seems to show up, and against all odds, he goes just far enough to get you that field goal to win the game. So.
I mean, look, here's the thing is that the Bengals, for all the conspiracy theorists out there, the Bengals had their moments. They had opportunities to win this game. And according to our TikTok comments, they have a lot of support. So, they had everything going for them.
Yeah, we took a big shit on Cincinnati this week in our social medias, and people were not happy about it.
More on that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they had everything going for them. I did find interesting in this game, and probably just because of the caliber of the teams, was that neither team was able to really run the ball.
Well, it was almost like they were content with just being like,
it was just
we'll try it a couple times, but let's just start throwing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just strength on strength football, which
it was like, you guys are good at throwing it, we're good at throwing it.
It was fun to watch, but I think what was surprising to me was that that Joe Mixon got so little work. I mean, he only had 8 carries for 19 yards.
Especially coming off of one of his best games as a Bengal, besides the 5-touchdown explosion earlier this year.
And I just think in a game like that, where it is strength on strength, that's the one wrinkle you have that they don't.
Yeah.
And
you start controlling the clock. You start.
You
keep Patrick Mahomes off the field.
Especially once they tied the game up in the second half.
Zach Taylor called Kevin Stefanski before the game?
Must have. So that's why I still don't really trust Zach Taylor. I know he's going to be in 2 Super Bowls, but or no, he's not. He's
only in 1.
He's only in 1. But I know he went to the Super Bowl last year, but and then the AFC Championship. But I still don't trust the guy because that seemed odd. But outside of that, really good game.
Yeah,
Pat Mahomes was phenomenal.
In the end, the Bengals lost and are not going to the Super Bowl. We don't care why or how it happened, because they play in the AFC North, and F them all. So we were both wrong, and we couldn't be happier about it.
F all of TikTok.
Oh, man. So that'll take us over to the NFC Championship. 49ers at Philadelphia Eagles. Look, once Brock Purdy got hurt, this game was pretty much a snooze fest.
And
even when they brought in what's his face, the old Brown,
Brown's former great Josh Johnson.
Yeah, when they brought in Josh Johnson, he didn't do much, and he went down shortly after with a concussion. And Christian McCaffrey was your quarterback, for God's sake. So, and he was throwing to nobody. Like, have you know the clip in Adam Sandler movie? What's that?
Waterboy?
No.
Oh.
Where they're in jail. Playing football.
Oh, longest yard.
Longest yard. Where he's like, why can't I be quarterback? And he's like, here, hit me. And he throws it way over his head. That was Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Now sit down and shut up.
The one pass he threw, there was nobody.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was that was.
But yeah, so I mean, on top of their quarterback woes when Purdy went down, and Purdy, by the way, came across today, complete tear of his UCL. So never good when you tear a CL.
Never good.
They said that he's looking at a 6-month recovery. So
You never want that CL news. Yeah, I mean, watch in real time as you're watching the game and you're going, like how bad can you be hurt? It's the NFC Championship, and for them to, I'll say
even
when he had to come back in the game, like they were not going to let him throw the ball.
That was. I have so much. I was already pretty amazed by what Brock Purdy's been able to do this year before this, but after that game, I'm just kind of in awe of that guy that he even went back out on the field, especially knowing today that he had a complete tear of his UCL, and he still was like, "Yeah, I can barely hold the football, but I'm gonna go out there and give it a go."
Yeah, I mean, gamesmanship for sure, and just fortitude by that guy. But
also, what does that say about Christian McCaffrey? Like, I know he's a phenomenal athlete, but you're that bad that a guy with no arm is better than you.
And you kind of just feel bad for the 49ers because they had
such a good run, and
they had a good season,
something like that.
Well, they had a good season, and you literally were down to your third string quarterback,
and still just
that
dominating.
Still was working. And like you get to the final game before the Super Bowl, and it's over. I mean, you lose both quarterbacks in that game, go down with injury, and you're down to your running back as your quarterback. So
on top of their woes on their side of the ball for offense, Jalen Hurts on the other side did whatever he wanted in this game. And
the Eagles in general, I mean, they ran the ball all over whenever they wanted.
And to be fair, the 49ers defense was completely run down because they were literally on the field the entire game. After those quarterbacks were gone, they couldn't. I mean, they just were out there all the time. So, Eagles win easy, 31-7. Kenny was right. I was wrong. I didn't see Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson.
This was a disappointing game to watch because I was looking forward to the matchup. I
wish this would have been the later game so I could have went to bed earlier.
Right. I thought this was going to be the better game out of the two, and it just ended up being a snooze fest because of the injuries. So really unfortunate. Congrats to the Eagles. Still trash city.
Damn. Hey, real quick. This just in. Shirley from Laverne and Shirley died today.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's just another in a long line of celebrities that have died this year.
Name another.
I
do this to you every time, and it's always terrible. But yeah, another celebrity goes down. That feels bad. Anyways,
we'll do our Laverne and Shirley tribute next week.
Yeah, anyways, updated playoff picture here.
The best segment of the week.
I'm just laughing because you love this segment. So, the AFC champs are the Chiefs this year. The Bengals have been eliminated. And the NFC champs are the Eagles. The 49ers have been eliminated. So, Super Bowl 57, Heinz 57 has been set.
Okay.
Chiefs versus Eagles in Glendale, Arizona. Let's go.
Yeah, I love Super Bowl. Love Super Bowl week. Even the week leading up to it, just because the pageantry, the interviews, the questions, just everything.
One day the Browns will be there. The most glorious thing of all time.
It's just everything on ESPN. Like it's football 24/7 leading up until the game.
Fair. I love it.
So love that. Wish we were there. So that feels bad, but I think this will be a good game. I will make our predictions and stuff next week, but do you have early thoughts on advantage one way or the other?
I like the Chiefs.
Yeah, just because they've been there before.
They've been there before. I know the Eagles are on an impressive run, but I think the Eagles have had a much easier road to get there. The Chiefs, because they've been up against, they had this close game against the Bengals, faced a little bit of adversity with Patrick Mahomes' ankle, that type of thing. And they've been there before, like you said. I mean, I just think experience really does play a part when it comes to Super Bowls. And I like the Chiefs. Yeah. And this can't be overstated enough. Patrick Mahomes has 2 weeks to heal. So
True.
Yeah.
He also has 2 weeks to re-injure it.
He'll probably be in a boot the entire 2 weeks.
What if he falls down his steps?
He might.
What if he's doing a TikTok dance with Brittany and Jackson Mahomes?
He might, but Jalen Hurts might do a TikTok dance and re-injure his shoulder, and then where are we going to
What if he gets the stanky leg?
I don't know what that means, but as much as we love the Super Bowl, let's change gears here, and we're gonna get our thoughts on the Pro Bowl.
Does this have its own sounder?
You put it in all caps, so this is just. I figured it was a sounder.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess this is like one of those you only have this segment once a year. Just the Pro Bowl.
So no sounder?
No, we'll do a sounder.
All right, sounder.
Pro Bowl music.
So like Kenny mentioned, the Super Bowl preview will be next week. Right now we're going to talk about the event coming this weekend, which is the Pro Bowl, or as it is now called, the Pro Bowl Games. So Kenny, I'm going to let you lead this one. I know that you kind of, you were our resident guy that learned all about the new formats in all the games that the Pro Bowl has to offer. So I just want to know what you have to say about the Pro Bowl and what's going on there.
Should we just skip this segment and go home? I mean, I don't think anybody really cares, but I do have some details that we
just
can
run through
share.
them fast. This is gonna be quick, rapid fire.
Clearly, the old Pro Bowl was a liability for players to engage in. And so this will be our first crack at the new format, as Ronnie stated, Pro Bowl Games, ?
So stupid.
Because there won't be an actual football game. Well, there will be a flag football game, but
so excited.
But even that,
I'm excited. Woo!
But even that has its own wrinkles. So, real quick, because I think this is of note anyway. So we've had the Pro Bowl historically was in Hawaii, which was a nice treat,
much better
for a lot of the players, and they moved it to Orlando.
That's what all the players say too. They're like, when it was in Hawaii, like I wanted to go.
Yeah,
now that it's not.
It's kind of like something extra to play for.
Like, great. It's what is it? Where is it this year? Nevada. So
yeah, I was gonna get there, but you did. That's fine.
I'm just saying, like they're just like it's just a normal place. I don't want to go there.
I mean, Las Vegas though is exponentially cooler than Orlando.
That's fair, but it's still like somewhere that they could like,
and it's warmer.
Like even though they're rich and stuff, like they don't just go to Hawaii all the time.
Well,
like,
true. And you would think that as long as we played the Pro Bowl in Hawaii, that the NFL would have like heavily invested in that stadium down there. I mean, that was part of the reason, like the stadium was unsafe for an event that size.
Yeah.
That the NFL couldn't have
odd that they didn't
come up with money to help build a new stadium. Like they could have built like a stadium like InfoStation in Akron.
You act like the NFL pays for anything on their own.
That's true.
They count on the taxpayer. You know it.
There's no tax base in Hawaii for a new stadium.
Yeah.
Fair.
But I digress. Pro Bowl. We're talking about the Pro Bowl.
Yes,
here.
the Pro Bowl is in Las Vegas, or I guess in Paradise, Nevada, technically, at the Raiders Allegiant Stadium. Voting ended on December 21st, so Ronnie went through the Browns that are in earlier, but all the rosters are pretty much set now, given the conclusion of the conference championship games, because there were a number of guys that were in the Pro Bowl that won't be now.
Yeah, you don't find out who actually is playing until after the conference championship games.
Yeah, because it's very watered down now that we have alternates and alternates to alternates and alternates to alternates. So not only is it not a prize to go to Hawaii anymore, you're also like just the fifth man that was good enough to be available.
Still counts.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I mean, it does still count for like Hall of Fame, right? Like that's the one
Wyatt Teller, he got one.
They'll be like, well, he was a 10-time.
Not talking down Wyatt Teller, he should have got one anyways, but he got one.
He was a 10-time Pro Bowler.
Second year in a row.
Yeah, so the points are made up and the games don't matter. this will be, I'm sure, the NFL is going to roll out the red carpet for this thing. This will be...
They're going to make you so excited for the least exciting football game you've ever seen in your whole life.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be, I think it's the 2nd and the 5th.
And I think that the NFL is the only organization that thinks this thing's going to work. Like everyone else, like I talk to people and they're like, it's a flag football game.
There's more. We're going to get to it in a second.
Sorry, I'm so turned down for this thing.
But...
Who are the coaches?
Let's start with that. Let's start with the fact that Peyton and Eli,
that part's pretty cool,
are always fun to watch, are the coaches of these teams.
That part is pretty cool. But did you see the promo that they cut? Where they're talking about this is going to be such an awesome flag football game. Like this is what they used to play in their backyards when they were younger, and like
yeah,
come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we can skip this, you know.
No, keep going. This is great.
Okay, real quick. Again, they're going to roll out the red carpet. They're going to, Herb Street's going to be there. McAfee, RG3, Marcus Spears, Laura Rutledge, Ryan Clark, Orlovsky. Orlovsky's one of those guys that's come on as like sneaky funny,
He's pretty funny
and clever over the last couple of years.
He's got a lot to say. He's coming to his own. I think it took him some time to grow into his role.
Ever since he ran backwards out of the end zone, like now
he's no longer known as that. It's still a little bit, but
look, I like Orlovsky. I think I like a lot of his takes. So, but here's where things get interesting because this will be a multi-day event out in Las Vegas, and it will be a combination of skills competitions and the flag football game that Ronnie keeps dumping on. And it will have a cumulative score to determine the winner of said Pro Bowl games. So it's not just the game, the Pro Bowl flag football game, that matters here, because the points that you earn in your skills competitions are actually going to be a part of the flag football game on Sunday. So here's how this works. The winning conference of each skill competition earns 3 points towards their team's overall score, with total of 24 points available across the 8 skills events. The winning conference from each of the first 2 flag football games on Sunday will earn 6 points for their team for a total of 12 available points. And then points from the skills competitions in the first 2 flag football games are then added together. This is important, added together, and will be the score at the beginning of the 3rd and final flag football game, which will determine the winning conference for the Pro Bowl games.
Jesus Christ. Like, talk about taking something that, like, you're going to have trouble getting people interested in anyways. Make it as convoluted as you possibly freaking can and just lose everybody and say, why are we starting, like, I don't know what the hell the score would be. Why are we starting, like, 11-7? That's probably not an actual score, but, like, why are we starting with these random scores? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you just ran through that, and the only reason that I have any idea what's going on is because it's actually written on the screen in front of me. Not if you would have just said it, I would have been completely lost.
So the people that are driving in their cars right now.
Oh, yeah. They're like, what the hell did that guy just say? The
Wow. Okay. Let's try to finish this up as quick as possible. Events in the skills challenge.
Is this one literally called the Epic Pro Bowl Dodgeball presented by Bud Light?
Yes, that is actually what it's called.
Good God.
So a multi-round classic dodgeball tournament.
As if that's how you know they're desperate to get you excited, when they had to add epic to their title.
It's epic dodgeball, man. Lightning round, this is like a catching competition. They'll do some different catches, jug machine and stuff. Longest drive, you can watch some players play top golf, I guess. That sounds like a lot of fun.
This is actually probably going to be the most exciting one of all of them, is the long drive. Because I know there's some athletes out there on the football field that can just bomb it.
Here's the thing. I don't think this is going to be that exciting. And you know why? Because these guys
There's also a lot of bad golfers.
These guys aren't golfers. So even the guys that everybody knows, the guy that's like, I can hit it 300. Okay. Well, that guy hits it straight about 1 out of every 300 times. So these guys that are going to be just absolutely annihilating the golf ball are probably never going to have a ball that even lands in whatever their grid is to measure these guys. I mean, hell, if you watch a long drive competition, those guys hit it about half the time.
They need to just use TrackMan and say, wherever this goes, we're measuring it. You could hit it 370 yards that way. I don't care.
I mean, here's the thing. You and I like golf. We have a history, and we used to work in golf. So I think this is something that is appealing to us. But if you're the casual fan and you don't really watch golf, and you don't care about the PGA Tour and live golf and all this stuff, are you excited to watch 4 football players play top golf?
Probably not.
Probably not. How about this one? This one's going to be super exciting. Precision passing presented by EA Sports Madden NFL 23 Mobile. You're just going to watch
the mobile version. Make sure that you get that in there.
You're just going to watch a couple of quarterbacks play an accuracy competition inside of Madden.
Great. Wait. Did you just say inside of Madden?
Oh, is it not in Madden? I thought it was a Madden 23 competition. I thought they were playing video games.
No, it's not a video game. It's a real competition. Real quarterback competition, throwing at targets, moving targets and stuff.
Well, that's cool, I guess.
Robotic dummies that are zooming across the field.
I thought they were digital robotic dummies.
No, that would have been even funnier. It would have fit better with the overall game so far, but go on.
Best catch. So I think this is going to now be the NFL's version of the dunk competition, and it's going to extend both days. They're going to have the first round on Thursday and then the final round on Sunday, I think.
I feel like best catch competition, you will get some pretty epic dragging your feet inbounds and some crazy Odell Beckham style catches. But I think you're also going to get a lot of really corny, just dumbass catches out of this. Where they're trying to do tricks and stuff and it's just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, how many tricks? I don't know. The dunk contest doesn't really excite me that much anymore because ultimately they're just throwing a ball in a hoop. But I digress. So they will have this best catch competition that will be their dunk competition. They will have a gridiron gauntlet, which is a side-by-side relay race. So that should be fun.
Do the people have to be fast in this, or will they put somebody one of these quarterbacks that has a 5 flat 40 in this? Are they going to be in it too?
I don't know exactly because this is a multi component gauntlet where some of it's a blocking sled or running under obstacles and stuff. So
exciting.
They might have one lineman on each team for pushing the blocking sled. I don't know. And then finally, probably the most exciting game of all. Oh wait, sorry, I skipped one. Move the change.
That's not the most exciting one.
That's not it. They're gonna pull heavy things.
Cool.
10 yards as quickly as possible.
Cool.
Using first down chains. That sounds great. This is probably the in terms of just does this fit the format? Is this something that you would watch? Is kick-tack-toe. Very punny.
I'm actually a fan of this one. This one sounds really cool.
Where kickers and long snappers will compete in a tic-tac-toe competition.
If I'm not mistaken, because I've seen this elsewhere, it's literally, don't they put a tic-tac-toe board up in the field goal?
Yes.
And then they have to kick it. And
I don't know if it's going to technically be in a field goal post, but yes, that's the general idea. They're playing a game of tic-tac-toe with kicking the ball. So when you think about just skills competitions in general for these guys, this one actually kind of makes sense. In the old quarterback, you're throwing the ball through the hoops and stuff.
I miss the good old days when the quarterbacks threw as far as they could.
That was a good one. I do fear that this gridiron gauntlet is probably, to match your terms from earlier, a one and doneer here, because this sounds like the most dangerous. This is a side-by-side relay showcasing strength, speed, and agility. 6 players from each conference compete to see who finishes first. We talked about breakaway walls and climbing over walls, under tables, tire run, blocking sled. So, if
all it takes is one guy busting his head open on a table and it's all right, that one's done.
Or just the fact that I don't know, a non-contact, can you tear your CL doing some of these, running through tires in a game that doesn't matter to anyone? So I feel like that's a one and doneer. But anyway, that's the games. I know no one cares.
Here's the deal. I have never been more excited that I cut the cord several years ago because I don't have to sit there and flip to the sports channels and see this plastered all over it for 4 straight days.
I mean, you have to watch it, right? Because
I'm going to have to watch it because I have a goddamn football podcast.
yeah, you can't not watch it.
But I'm just saying, if I choose not to, I can not watch it. I can watch it on my terms. I don't have to I want to watch sports, and this is all the time.
I guess so.
So
what does that do for you?
Not much.
Okay.
That was fun. End of segment. All right, so that'll take us to a much more exciting segment. This is a new one for this week. We're rolling out Troll Patrol.
You're a funny guy. Funny how? He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say? I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
All right, so you may be asking yourself, what the hell's Troll Patrol?
What is Troll Patrol?
Well, I'll tell you what Troll Patrol is. Troll Patrol is a new segment for us here at the Burning River Sportscast. And it's, I actually wrote down Kenny what we're doing here, but I'm going to explain it. Basically, what we're doing is we're scouring our social medias. We get pretty good engagement on social media, and we just want to highlight some either funny or clever or just good quips out there on all of our socials.
Yeah, you won't call the goddamn hot take hotline, but you'll call me fat 16 times a day on TikTok.
So many people think you're fat on
As
TikTok.
if I don't know that I'm overweight. Thank you.
He's a big guy. So without further ado, I'm going to read these off. Kenny, you chime in and let us know how you felt about them.
Because they're mostly people calling me fat.
Yeah. So number one here, we've got Phantom Luke 66 on TikTok. He commented on a video that we posted, just shitting all over the city of Cincinnati. Just like we just dumped on him hard.
Because it's not a cool place to go.
Especially Kenny. I said I wasn't going to really bash the city, but Kenny was like, no, I am. They're the worst city.
Look, I've been there several times, and it's just a miserable place to go.
Anyways,
I'm going to double down. Phantom Luke 66.
So his comment, Phantom Luke 66 on TikTok says, wow, Cincinnati is great. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I hope the Bills fall off because of this guy. Kentucky is great too. Mind you, Kenny was wearing a DeMar Hamlin jersey in the last episode.
In tribute to something that we've all agreed is bigger than football.
Yeah, supported his charity. We wanted to make sure that we touched on that and let everybody know that, like you said, bigger than football. So I said that back to him. I told him, no Buffalo fans in this clip. And he came back with, yeah, but there's a lot of cholesterol, though. And I just had to give it to him. I just went back to him and said, fair.
That was definitely the retort of the week.
Yeah, so that was a pretty good one.
Good job,
so good on you, Phantom Luke 66. Next one up, we've got Straw Hat Luffy _91 on TikTok. This might be the best part of our show, is reading these people's names.
It's more entertaining than we are.
He commented and said, bro, big mad in a Bills jersey. Who even is this guy? And then Crinkle Cuts came in and said, a nobody. To which I responded, yet you took the time to comment. Which is so true. I just don't understand all these people that are like, I don't care about these guys. They're nobody. What are you doing on our...
Stop their day and tell us how they feel.
So Straw Hat Luffy 91 and Crinkle Cuts, thanks for the view and thanks for the engagement. We appreciate it. I thought this one was funny. Bowling Funko on TikTok came in and said it is a typo, but he says it has the best bowling alley for Cincinnati.
Here's the thing. Can we proofread these tweets or these whatever comes out? It have the best bowling alley.
That's besides the point.
You're trying to come at me and you're not even literate.
Alliteration aside. No, I wanted to highlight this one because actually Kenny is a big bowling fan.
I'm a big bowling fan.
So I thought he would appreciate this comment. Like a good bowling alley is hard to find nowadays.
That's true. Bowling Funko and I probably would get along more than Bowling Funko knows.
Yeah. So, and then next up we've got I'm gonna flip these next two. So Rup the Pug 316 on TikTok said Cleveland is basically Michigan. To which I replied, he spelled Toledo wrong, because in case this idiot doesn't know, Cleveland's way closer
we're nowhere near Michigan.
to Pennsylvania than it is Michigan. Like, we're not even close to Michigan. He must have went to Field High School and not had geography either.
Illiterate and no geography.
Yeah, so. And then finally, we've got Ed Meek via Facebook. He told us, don't tell fans they are not fans. This was
in reaction to us saying you shouldn't root for a division rival.
Correct. Yeah, like because there's a lot of, in case anyone's living under a rock, there's a lot of Browns fans that were jumping ship and rooting for the Bengals last week. So he said, "Don't tell fans they are not fans." To which I replied, "Don't root for division rivals." And he came back with, first of all, I didn't. Second, don't tell me what to do. And third, kiss my ass. To which I replied, Ed Meek, sir, that's an all-day job, bro, and we ain't got the time. So that has been Troll Patrol. These are the comments of the week. We thought they were pretty funny. Keep them coming. We like it when you guys go at us.
Yeah, this is
fun.
This is fun. Look, I think
we didn't get into the podcasting and the social media game thinking that nobody was going to take a shot at us.
some of you might hate us and truly wish us ill will, but I think for the most part, like a lot of this was in good nature and fun. So we picked these out because we thought they were funny.
Yep.
And so
this is actually one of my favorite parts about
appreciate
what we do.
the engagement. With anyone that listens to our shows or our clips, and for all those out there, like I said, just to reiterate, like I know I'm fat. I'm not a Bills fan, but Cincinnati is a trash city, and Philly is a scum city as well because they killed Hitchbot. So,
I didn't even put that guy in here. Some guy claimed that Hitchbot wasn't.
Yeah, he claimed that we were part of the Illuminati media because we said that Philly killed Hitchbot, the city that has to grease their light poles because people can't stay off of them after they win a football game.
Good talk, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, this might be one of my favorite parts about what we do is I just like the interaction, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I just like hearing what people have to say about what we have to say.
Well, I think at the heart of it, right? Like this is what this is all about, right?
Yeah.
Is the human connection that sports brings you, and you're right. Like this is the fun part, getting to actually interact with somebody outside of your ugly mug.
God, I hate talking to you all day. It's terrible.
It's fun. So appreciate the comments. Thanks for the burns. Thanks for the rips. And for those of you that actually respect us and told us we did a good job, we appreciate you too.
Yeah. So, going from the internet to the phone lines, we want to remind you one more time to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. 330-227-8080.
Hotline.
330-227-8080. Kenny?
Oh, we're doing the hot take hotline thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Hotline.
Just say the number.
330-227-8080.
You have to excuse my friend. He's a little slow.
Sorry, there was a lot going on. I'm running a lot of machines here.
Yeah, call us though. Tell us what
people
you
are
think.
calling me fat.
What are your opinions about the Browns? What are your opinions about the Guardians? What are your opinions about the Cavs? What are your opinions about Kenny's weight? Just let us know. We want to know what you have to say.
Hit me with your diet tips.
Yeah. Dietitian needed.
Have a piece of broccoli once in a while, man.
Anyways, Kenny, what can we expect next week? Because that'll do it for this show.
330-227. Oh, no, sorry. It's the wrong bit. Wrong bit. So we will watch this atrocity that's going to be the Pro Bowl games, the Hunger Games.
Now that would be exciting.
So
they just had the Hunger Games with the NFL players.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
That would be good. And in order to minimize casualties, just the first one to die loses.
Everybody else wins.
That's how you win.
What did you win? Your life.
Your life. So we will react to the Pro Bowl. Hopefully something funny happens. Someone's dong falls out. I don't know. Something good. And then we will.
Wow.
Hopefully my pneumonia goes away by then. And then we will get into the nitty gritty of the Super Bowl and preview that, break down all the matchups, and we will, of course, bring you the Burning River Rundown featuring all Browns news, including pending free agent discussions and other local sports news.
Nice.
Thanks.
I like that. So on social media, make sure you check us out. Tap In Media is on Facebook and Twitter at The Tap In Media and on Instagram at Tap In Media Official. And Burning River Sportscast, that is this podcast.
I'm awake now.
We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast and on Twitter at Burning River Pod. So go listen to our podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more. Kenny, what's it time for?
It is time for Facts for Days.
What do you got for us?
Let's let the sounder play.
Oh, we got a sounder for that?
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I don't got nothing today. No facts. No
facts. That's it.
Just kidding. I wouldn't leave you all with no facts because that would just be mean. So who's ready for the first fact?
Me.
That's nice. Okay. So the human brain has an estimated storage capacity of 256 exabytes. That's 2.5 billion gigabytes, basically.
Whoa.
That's the equivalent of 1.2 billion average hard drives in your computer. 256 exabytes. Yet, sometimes...
I'm silent over here. I'm flabbergasted.
Sometimes we forget what we had for breakfast, where we're going when we're driving, and just basic math.
It's because there are glitches in the computer.
Yeah, so next time your phone isn't working right, or your laptop's running slow, or it's not working as expected, like, give it a break, because we have way more going on in our brains than they do, and we don't get it right most of the time.
More often than not.
Speaking of big brains.
Oh, boy, this sounds good.
Nick Cage, my favorite actor.
Question mark?
Oh, everybody knows my favorite actor is John Goodman. But
greatest American actor of all time.
Nicolas Cage.
John Goodman's the greatest American actor of all time. Fight me right now.
He was Fred Flintstone. Flintstones, Big Lebowski, Roseanne,
Arachnophobia.
Yeah, he's all the hits.
Evan Almighty.
We'll save John Goodman for another day because we could do a whole show on just.
I could literally do a whole show.
In the off season, we might just do a whole John Goodman show. So stay tuned for the John Goodman show.
Johnny G fans, get ready.
We'll just do a whole show on our Mount Rushmore of actors.
Just shut up and give me more facts.
Led by John Goodman. Nick Cage, big time actor, right?
Yeah. Okay.
He's known to have a proclivity to spend money on a lot of things. In his career, he's been known to buy beach houses, a castle, a bunch of yachts. He's had over 50 cars, a jet.
Okay.
An island.
Those are pretty cool things.
But he's also had some uncommon assets.
Like
he's a collector of dinosaur skulls and exotic animals. So he might have like a megalodon tooth. Megalodon.
This just sounds about right for Nicolas Cage. So go on.
2 king cobras that cost almost $300,000. But most unique of all, he owned an octopus that he named Cool, that he bought for $150,000.
How did octopi come up again in this?
And
this podcast.
He claimed that this octopus, Cool, made him a better actor.
How so?
Oh, that's unclear.
You were baiting me, weren't you? You wanted me to ask the question. Nobody knows, but it made him a better actor.
I said, look, it's his words, not mine.
Again, this sounds like something Nick Cage would say.
He never went into depth or detail.
Nick Cage, the man of many expressions. Can you do just put 4 or 5 pictures of his crazy faces up there?
I hate montages. They take so much work. Enjoy the montage.
It's going to be so good, though.
If you're driving in your car, you'll have to wait for the YouTube clip to hit. All my Nick Cages here. You're still going up there.
You're the one making it longer than it. I said do 4 or 5. You're doing
all the Nick Cages.
All right, what else you got?
And then finally, this is maybe the most mind-blowing fact of the day, of all days, of all your days.
You've got my attention.
I'm going to have more than your attention in a minute.
That sounds sexual.
The density of the average human being is 985 kilograms per cubic meter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
metric system. Nice.
Humans are almost entirely what?
Water.
Which has a density of 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter.
Okay.
That being said, the average human weighs 62 kilograms. So, you could technically squeeze about 16 humans into a cubic meter if you smushed them all together.
Okay.
So, like, imagine you had a people blender.
I'd rather not imagine I had a people blender.
You have a people blender, a really big blender. You're just tossing people in.
You'd be the first to go. To hell with you.
You can toss 16 people in before you make one.
Can I just toss 16 U's in?
1 cubic meter of mass, right?
Okay.
So, therefore, if there are 7.88 billion people in the world,
yeah,
you could mathematically squeeze all the people in the entire world into your blender into 496 million cubic meters. That sounds like a big number, doesn't it?
Sounds pretty big.
Sounds pretty big. The volume of a sphere, 1,000 meters across, 1,000 meters, is 523 million cubic meters. So the point of this whole equation is that if you took all the humans on the planet, threw them into a blender, smashed them into a meatball.
This is getting graphic.
That meatball would fit.
It would literally be a meatball.
Would fit inside of Central Park in New York.
Whoa.
That's roughly.
It'd have to be 1,000 meters tall too, though. So
It's a sphere.
yeah. Well, okay. Well,
It's a big meatball. But
I mean, it's still a mind-blowing fact.
But relatively, you could fit all of the people in the world, all of them, into basically a pinhead on the Earth's surface.
It's incredible.
It's the world's largest meatball.
If you stood all the people next to each other, isn't the saying for that one that you can fit them all inside of the state of Texas?
Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah. You could actually do more than that. You can actually give them like a boundary and a place that they could like live. Like you could build them like a small townhouse. Build me a small doghouse.
Now, what I want you to do is build me a small doghouse. I'm bored by famine.
And
I need you to build me a small doghouse.
and I don't know if I can find that clip. Maybe Nick Cage has it. But you can actually like give everybody a homestead in the state of Texas, and there'd be enough room. But most people don't know that. But what's scarier though is that a meatball made of humans fits in Central Park. Like not all of Central Park, just like in Central, like across.
That is pretty crazy.
But if you had a meatball made of humans, that would be a problem. And if you're going to be a problem, don't just be a part of the problem. Be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires. Play the clip.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but...
Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River Sportscast.
The Burning River, 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 Burning River.
Just... You know how you tell a story? What? No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. Get the fuck out of here, Tommy. I almost had him.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Samsonite. I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Towpath rum. Silver rum made from the highest grade molasses, distilled 3 times in a copper pot still. This rum is designed to be the backbone of a great cocktail. So good you can drink it by itself. Towpath rum.
Yum.